welcome everyone here. Thank you for coming out tonight for the annual meeting and call the meeting to order. We'll start with our Pledge of Allegiance, so if you could all rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I'm going to call on Don Wheeler to give our Secretary's report.
Welcome everybody. Looks like at least we filled the chairs. The Huron Community Fair Annual Stockholders Meeting was called to order by President Clark Brock on November 8th of 2017. There were 43 shareholders in attendance. The minutes of the previous annual meeting were read by Secretary Don Wheeler, and it was moved by Denny Esch and seconded by Ed Eichler to accept the minutes. The motion passed. The Treasurer's report was given by Brad Palega. It was moved by Kelly Zurich and seconded by Bruce Eisler to accept the report, and that passed. Clark Brock gave his President's report. All receipts were increased. All receipts at the fair had increased except the carnival. So it was recorded as a very successful year. Brock reported on other events that had taken place at the fairgrounds. There was an SLA sale, a jackpot hog show, the Lions had a motorcycle rally, there was a holiday weekend, a Halloween weekend, and a holiday light show. It's good to see that our grounds are being used for more activities than just Fair Week. Brad Palega gave an update on the bathhouse. He reported that the walls were up and the roof were on, and the project is scheduled to be finished and ready to be used by the end of December. Elections were held for 3 positions that were up. President Brock opened the floor for nominations. Ed Eichler moved that we cast a unanimous ballot for the 3 board members seeking re-election: Stacy Hagan, Robbie Eisler, and Gary Protzman. Robert Esker seconded the motion, and the motion passed. Don Wheeler moved to amend the bylaws to have the elections as the first item of business under new business. Ed Eichler seconded the motion. Carried. Gary Protzman reported on winter storage. All buildings are being filled. He also reported that the campsites for the Fair Week are full with a waiting list that has started. Patty Ear was recognized as our 4-H agent, and she gave a report on Fair Week and upcoming events. Bruce Eisler gave a report on the JLA. It was another successful year for the kids with large animals. Al Kuhn gave a report for the SLA. Animal numbers continue to grow, and the old rabbit barn was renovated, and they had a great sale. In new business, President Brock reported on the activities that were underway to celebrate the fair's 150th year. The board hopes to make it a memorable event for everyone. The dates for next year's fair will be July 29th to August 4th. Don Wheeler explained the new camper proposal, which would be a unique way to finance more campsites. The fair received a $20,000 state grant last year, and the Fair Fund Night will be on February the 10th at the Knights of Columbus Hall. The floor was then open to public participation. Courtesy rides were appreciated and hoped to see continued. It was appreciated that we had extra AED machines for Fair Week, and the Friends of the Fair were announced by President Brock. They were the Jake Zwimmer family and Larry Maurer. The motion was made by Gary Zurich and seconded by Peggy Helwick to adjourn the meeting. The meeting was adjourned. Thank you.
Any additions or corrections to the Secretary's report? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve. Moved by Al, supported by Kelly. If there's no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of accepting the minutes as presented signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you, Mr. Wheeler. We appreciate that. Treasurer's report by Brad Peleg at this time.
Good evening, everybody. We'll start with the balance sheet. I think you have that on one side or the other of your paper. I'll just highlight some of the major changes. If you got questions, you can certainly ask as we go through. The first major one will be the fixed assets. You can see a major, or total assets, major change, and that's the bathhouse of about $231,000. As we go down to liabilities, you can see there's a new one for $86,082. That is the bathhouse project. That was a $231,000 project, and we borrowed $100,000 to do that, and we made a payment this year already of $14,000 against that. So a pretty big project, and we paid a lot of cash for that project and didn't have to borrow as much. We borrowed about 37% of the money. So for a total equity this year of $298,000 versus $224,000 last year, and the major change there is the bathhouse. We flip the page to the income and expense. I'm not going to go line by line. I'm just going to highlight some of the positives of the changes. We had $412,000 of income compared to $377,000 last year. The major changes were our gate was up, our camper rental was up, we got a $20,000 grant from the state, our space rental was up, that means where we store the campers and other pieces of equipment, and our sponsorship was up. So those 5 things, and that to me is kind of exciting because it's not just one thing that's making our income go up, it's several, so that's a positive. So our income was $34,673 over last year. Our expenses were down $10,962. So when we raise our income and lower our expenses, good things happen. And you can see that at the bottom line. So we've had a very positive year, and hopefully we can continue that trend. I think we've had several in a row of positives, and it's been good. And you know, the sponsorship just is a huge number. If you look at that in our total, that really makes or breaks our year. So thank you to all the sponsors on that. Any questions?
Any questions, additions, or corrections to treasurers? If not, I would entertain a motion to put the treasurer's report on record. Moved by Kelly, supported by Sandy. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you. At this time, before we get into old business, we have a special guest with us tonight. Senator Phil Pavlov is here, and I'd like to invite him to come up at this time. I received a phone call about a month ago that Senator Pavlov and Representative Canfield did a little thing for us at the state level, and I'm going to turn it over to him at this time.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thanks for the invitation to be here. I'm sure Ed is putting his final bait out for tomorrow morning. This is one of the first times in 35 years that I won't be up in the UP on November 15th, so I'm honored to be able to be here and present the tribute to recognize your 150th anniversary. And for those of you that are in the room that are carrying the weight year-round to keep an operation like this up and successful for the kids of your community, it's really special, and I'm honored to be here. I was mentioning to Clark that I'm from St. Clair County, and previous to my legislative experience, I was a county commissioner, and our county board was always very supportive of what happens in Goodles at our county fair, and just the culture and the feel and the opportunity for kids to participate is amazing. So I have a resolution here, and I'll read it because I think it's important, even though you all know the history of your organization. It says, "Let it be known that in recognition of 150 years of providing agricultural education, entertainment, and family-friendly fun to the Thumb community, that it's with privilege to join with the Huron Community Fair in commemorating their historic 150th year anniversary." Since 1868, the Huron Community Fair has brought together the agriculture community and families to celebrate the agricultural tradition. This milestone is symbolic of the commitment of volunteers, patrons, vendors, committee members, and board members who have sacrificed their time to support the fair for generations. The fair is not only a place for entertainment, but it also provides support for rural economic development and opportunities for youth agriculture education. The Huron Community Fair has historically provided a place for youth agriculture community, the 4-H community, and the future farmers of America to showcase their livestock. This long-term project that young farmers present at livestock exhibitions are the results of hands-on experience with food production that require essential life skills like responsibility and accountability. The fair supports exhibitors who often use auction proceeds to help fund their college education or vocational training after high school. The food and agriculture sector is essential to the future of Michigan, and thanks to the opportunities provided by the Huron Community Fair, the youth community of Huron County will be at the forefront of this crucial industry. This year's Huron Community Fair follows in the exemplary tradition of its predecessors with agriculture education, games, rides, food, rodeo, and barrel racing. Combine Derby redneck truck racing, TTPA tractor pulling, and much, much more. This includes events to honor the fair's historic anniversary, such as fireworks, presentations to kick off the week-long fair, and to showcase the fair's memorabilia at the annual event's rich history. For thousands of Michiganders who attend, the Huron Community Fair symbolizes a commitment to thriving rural communities. In special tribute, therefore, this document is signed and dedicated to honor the Huron Community Fair for their sesquicentennial anniversary of its founding. We extend our heartfelt gratitude and offer the very best for their continued success. And it's signed by Representative Ed Canfield, myself, and Governor Rick Snyder.
I really want to thank Phil for coming up tonight. He's chatted with him a little bit. His drive around the thumb, he had several stops on the way here, dodging deer on the way in. As we all know, they're moving pretty good right now. And on behalf of the Fair Board and the Fair Association, we'd like to thank you for this.
Thank you.
It will hang in the Fair office, so it will be there for everyone to see as we move forward. And we appreciate the efforts of our legislator moving back into providing some grants and things that help us out in the future.
Everybody on that tribute is going to be gone on January 1st. Get to know your new lawmakers, your new governor, and tell the story of your community fair. Representative Lowers will now be taking my spot as state senator, and Phil Green will be your state representative, and of course you'll have a new governor in Gretchen Whitmer. So tell your story and keep advocating for those grant dollars.
Great. Thank you, Phil. We appreciate it. As we move into old business, 2018 fair report, I guess as kind of has been a little customary the last couple of years, it's not just a fair report anymore. When we look at the fact that the Huron Community Fair has grown into being more than a week of fair. Some of you have had the opportunity to, this past year, attend weddings held on the fairground. We had a wedding this year. We have 2 scheduled for next year. We had 3 graduation open houses held on the fairgrounds this year, and have a couple of events scheduled for next summer as well. We had the motorcycle event, and that will not take place, but in its place there's horse shows, jackpot shows, and other things going on, camping events that go on a numerous weekends. So when we look at that, the fair and fairgrounds has evolved into more than just Fair Week. That being said, we wouldn't be just without talking about the 150th anniversary of the Huron Community Fair. And I know you were all there, and we had a fabulous week. Weather treated us about as good as you can hope for a fair week. I didn't have too many days of terrible sweat pouring down my head, and only dodged raindrops a few times. And when we can have that happen, we're in good shape. As the Secretary and Treasurer's reports indicated, it was a healthy fair. Things went well. The fireworks addition, thanks to the Junior Livestock Association, was a great kickoff into the 150th that we had there, and things just seem to go well. The new bathhouse that was completed has been a tremendous addition, not just to Fair Week, but the numerous other activities and things that go on as well. So that's been a great boon for us. We will be applying for another grant, state grant this year. They're back out and available. The current process is you're only eligible every other year. Secretary Wheeler indicated that we received it 2 years ago, so we'll be back in line. We'll be applying for that shortly. We will decide in the next, either this next meeting, probably our December meeting, what emphasis we're going to focus. If there are concerns or interest tonight in a direction that you think we should go for that, it's a perfect opportunity for you to share that when we get to participation. I guess I would say from the Fair Board stance, we thought it was a great year. Everything well. When you can do building renovations and still have things go in a positive direction, we've done well. Holiday events, the Halloween activity, thanks to Stacy Hagan primarily and her efforts along with some other Fair Board members. Nothing but glowing reports on how well that went in cooperation with the Bad Axe Chamber of Commerce. And I know that the Chamber is already talking about next year's Halloween event and possibly adding and things that can be done. And I think we will, our plans are that will be an annual event that first weekend in October. I think 75 campers or something like that here for the event, and that evening trick-or-treat with the Chamber of Commerce and their activities they had, it just blossomed, and I think it will continue to grow, so we're real happy with that. Our holiday light show, Thanksgiving's coming awful early this year. It's been a bit of a struggle, but we're getting there. Those holiday light things over the next 10 days will start to blossom down there. We've had a few different groups that have been setting lights up. The Fair Board spent some time working at it, and that will kick off again as it has the last 2 years, following the Bad Axe Christmas Parade, with the lights going on and being on every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday through the weekend leading up to Christmas. So that will be there and available, and we hope you come out and enjoy that. And let everybody know it's a free event. That's kind of the Fair Board's way of and the community of saying thank you to everything that goes on around here for the year. So that will be. We talked about the bathhouse and the bathrooms. My first piece would be, as always, just a titch over what we thought budget would be. But that being said, I don't think we would have cut anything out of the process. We have a beautiful set of facilities down there that should last for us for many, many, many years. And if we care and maintain them, I think it's going to be just a great addition to numerous activities. We've had different groups that have talked about when they come in how nice it is to have that now. It opens up our campgrounds to having other activities and things that we couldn't have in the past. So that's been a great boon for us. Any board members that want to add anything to the year's report at that point? Everybody's with me, huh? Okay. Item D on our old business is actually, I thought that was the first item of new business.
It is.
Okay, last item of old business, first item of new business, election. Don, you have somebody hand me a ballot so I can at least tell you where we're at with that. The 3 board members whose terms are up this year are Kevin Langley, Brad Palega, and Don Wheeler. All 3 of them have indicated an interest in running for another 3-year term. So at this time, I would open the floor to nominations for anyone else that would be interested or that you would like to nominate?
I move nominations be closed and the unanimous ballot be cast for those nominated.
Moved by Ed Eichler, second by Bruce Eisler, that we close the nominations and cast a unanimous ballot. Any discussion on that motion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passed, and the three will be put back on the board for a 3-year term. Gary Crossman, camping and winter storage.
Okay, last year we talked about, Don had mentioned about the fundraising for adding on campsites. We did add 24 more campsites on. We had probably 28 people that did a 5-year payment. Unfortunately, I filled those and I have a waiting list again for this next year. Can you imagine that? We keep growing, just can't fathom where it's ever going to stop, but we are full again this year. And like I said, we do have a waiting list. Winter storage, I have about 3 or 4 more campers to go in yet. Otherwise, we will have pretty well mostly all of our buildings full. Again, this year, we were full last year. I want to thank Gary Zurich. He's my left-hand man who brought his tractor in and helps us park everything in there, because it's pretty hard to get these campers the way we have them stuck in there tight to make that space. It does create a lot of dollars in our general fund. Also, I probably should say my right-hand lady is my secretary, my wife, Deanne, over there, because she comes and does all our paperwork and keeps us going. So otherwise, that's it for that.
Great.
A question, how many campsites do we have? You said it had 24, but what's...
We have out here 148 campsites.
After adding the 24?
We have 124, we have now 148 campsites out there. And like I said, we are full and I have a waiting list. Again this year. I thought with the 24 I was going to be able to, and as the fair went this year, I got my list of people again, and so, and we have pretty well everybody puts a deposit down to hold their campsite for the next year, and we're pretty well, everybody has paid their deposit.
Effectively a small city for a week.
It's a little more than a small city for a week.
That tells you everybody thinks the fair is fun.
Yes, yes, it is.
If you simply put an average of 4 to a camper, we've got a little more than a small city out there.
Yes.
So
It is unbelievable. The kids, you know, you work with them all week long, and it's just
great.
fun.
Thanks, Gary. Any other questions about camping or winter storage? Patty Ayer is our 4-H agent. Patty's got a little over a year under her belt now, so we'll give her an opportunity to give a report on behalf of the 4-H.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Fair Board and the community for all your support for our 4-H programs. We couldn't do it without you. Thank you for letting us use your building for our PEP program. That's such an important program for our special needs in the community, and it's one of the only events that's offered for special needs. And so we greatly appreciate you letting us use the buildings for that as well. And also our fundraising activities. We were able to raise some funds this year by using the 4-H building for our garage sale and a few other things, so we really appreciate that. Your support through our Fall Family Social and being a friend of 4-H. It's really greatly appreciated. This year for 4-H we had 625 youth enrolled and 129 volunteers. We're hoping that we can raise that for this 19. We're considering 2019 year now, but 625 units. And that, compared to some other counties, is quite large for our small community up here in the thumb. So we're doing pretty good. We were able to reach over 1,000 youth with our 4-H enrichment programming, and so we're offering 4-H now in schools and reaching out in the community as well. So that's been wonderful to be a part of. This year we had 191 youth aged 9 to 19 that displayed projects in the 4-H building. We had 56 clover buds that brought in projects to the fair as well. We had 12 open class adults bring in the projects and 270 honor roll ribbons given to our 9 to 19-year-olds given this year. This year, Country Corners 4-H Club received a grant to purchase 5 showcases for the building, and they're housed in the 4-H building, along with support from their funds, the Council, Fund Glass, Ray Ayers Memorial, and North Huron 4-H and FFA Club were able to complete the project by purchasing the glass and shells. So those still need to be put in. They should have been put in by now, but we're working with Fund Glass on that. So thank you to those who helped support that project. Our goal this year, we'd like to secure funds to help get the building painted, because it's been a while, so we're working on that hard to get it power washed and painted. So it looks as nice as the other buildings on the ground. So we're working with the Fair Board Committee to do that. Once again, thank you for your support. It's a well-recognized and respected program in here in town, and we want to keep 4-H going strong here. So thank you all for that.
Thank you, Patty. Any questions on the 4-H program? A few years ago, both the JLA and SLA became affiliates of the Fair Board. So JLA report, Bruce.
First, I want to thank everybody for working on Fair Week and helping out and everything. And I want to thank all the supporters out there, the buyers that come support the kids and all the projects. We had a fantastic sale again this year. We had expenses this year of $38,240.47. We had income of $47,990.05. We are, the JLA have been talking about possibly trying to do something for a new superintendent's office and take down the old one to help ventilation in the building. Looking to work with the Fair Board, see if we can figure something out. Any questions?
Thanks, Bruce. Al Kuhn from the SLA.
We had a very good year in the SLA, and we'd like to thank everyone that helps out with that. We have filled our barn, our new barn. Our animal numbers are up again this past year. We're up to 118 goats in there that were being shown, 148 pens of rabbits, and 102 pens of poultry. So it's been, every year it just keeps increasing with the kids that are coming, and it's a wonderful thing. We did have a engagement at our rabbit show, which Clark talked about, not only weddings, but we had an engagement go on at our rabbit show, so that was a big deal. Our community barn that we use for our shows, we had some problems with paint in there, and we've been working with people, and that's going to be repainted again in the spring. The interior, they want to wait till winter passes, so if anybody's seen that, we're working on that project. We started a small livestock scholarship program this year. We did a 5-month raffle, which we've got 3 months completed. We got December and January yet going, where we sold raffle tickets. After expenses, we got to raise about $3,000. And we're going to be, at next year's fair, start awarding scholarships to small livestock kids that are moving on to further their education. And that also is going to be a dual role with that. We're splitting part of that for building, because if we keep growing, we're going to have to do something. So that's what we got going on with that. Our sale was down very slightly this year as far as dollars. Numbers-wise, we were up in numbers of units that were sold. But it was very close to the previous year dollar-wise. And one last thing was brought to my attention, the Huron Community Foundation is taking votes through noon tomorrow to give out money, and the SLA is on there, so everybody please go out and vote for that. And also the fair is on there too. So, anybody have any questions? Okay.
Thanks, Al. Peggy Lloyd is here with the Light Horse Association. You have 4 shows scheduled here on typically on either a Saturday or Saturday, Sunday that happens multiple weekends. So
and there's also a clinic coming in.
Clinic?
Yeah, I believe Randy Bukowski is going to come in and do the clinic.
Wonderful, wonderful. So that goes. And when we talk about the horses, I was approached this week as a possibility of a larger, I'm not sure if it's Heflinger or draft type show of someplace possibly taking place here this summer as well. So they're having that conversation as well. So again, we go to the fact that numerous activities and events that take place not just during the fair, but providing education and opportunities for kids throughout the year. Okay, moving to new business. Anything under old business? Anyone that I've missed? Tisa?
I have a comment. My kids belong to Country Fund 4-H, and we received a check for our board that we posted. Was that from the fair board?
Yes, it was.
Okay. We had our meeting last week, and our children decided that they're going to donate that money to Toys for Tots and the 4-H Camp Council.
Wonderful.
So I just wanted to let you know that they appreciated that, and that's what they decided as a group that they'd like to do with their money.
Thank you. As Tisa points that out, I guess I didn't say that. We did start a new project this year, and some of you may have noticed our billboard competition that we had. 6? I'm not positive. I think there were 6 billboards that were done by 4-H clubs that you may have seen in various spots around the county. And the Fair Board 7, Patty says, we did put a little bit of an incentive out there for those groups to do that. I think it worked very well for us. I had a number of conversations about it, a little more advertising for the fair, and for us, we pay for advertising anyway, so why not pay a little bit to the 4-H clubs to do that. So we'll hope that expands next year. You may see some of those back along with some new ones. Under new business, fair dates have been set for next year. They will be the same corresponding to this year, July 28th through August 3rd. And for those of you who are long distance planners, that would follow the same for yet one more year after that. And then a combination of 4th of July and Labor Day weekend, I believe there will be a shift in the date the following year, but I can't tell you how it will be. But that is the dates as we go forward. 2018 Christmas Light Show, I guess I touched on that at the beginning. We've already talked a little bit. If anyone knows of someone who's still interested in putting a light display up, there's plenty of room and space. More than welcome to have any other club, group, organization, individual, family, or whoever that would like to do that. And if you're not so inclined to do that, I will be here a good chunk of this weekend hanging lights. If anybody's bored for the weekend and wants to help out, I'd gladly take that on. MDRED Fair Grant, as I previously said, that is back out and available. We haven't seen the final dollars in terms of what it will be, but we've been told that it should be at least $20,000 per fair that would be available under that grant.
40.
40?
40 is available.
40 is available, okay? It was 20 in the past, so 40 is available. It's a matching fund grant, so if we apply for however much, we have to come up with matching funds to be able to make that work. We do already have a partial match. A business has already contacted us about a partial match with that, so we will be able to at least apply and move forward. At this point, we've been having some discussions about what we might do. One conversation has been the old bathrooms up at the front end as a possibility of doing a revamp there. Those of you who have been using those at all from the 4-H end know that they could use a fresh up. It has to go to something, either infrastructure on the fairgrounds or improvements that would have community involvement. that type of thing. So we can't, unfortunately, I don't think we can buy paint to paint the 4-H building. That wouldn't be an infrastructure type thing, but it's got to be something that's a improvement on the fairgrounds. So when we get to our discussion, if there's thoughts or that, or if you think of something over the next couple of weeks, we will more than likely at our December meeting come up with plans as to what we might do with that, or how we might approach that. Our fun night that we have turned into an annual event, a little bit of a change this year. It will be on February the 2nd. This year it will be held at the Franklin Inn. We have a comedy show that will be going on that night. Instead of having as much of the auctions and raffles, that's going to be pared back considerably. We will be doing a raffle that will be coming up. We're finalizing the last couple pieces there. Similar raffle to last year. Opportunity to win $500, $300, or $200 to 10 different area businesses would be an opportunity, that raffle. As soon as we get the last couple businesses, hopefully in the next couple weeks we'll be applying for that raffle license and have that. There'll be a few items at the auction, but primarily it's going to be a dinner and comedy night, fun night out for everybody to come to. Cost, somebody tell me, it's in our minutes.
$30.
30?
30.
Yeah.
30, okay. So $30, which includes...
Warn us before you ask us questions.
I'm sorry, it's not on my sheet in front of me, so I have to ask the question. That includes the meal and the entertainment for the night. I believe perhaps beer will be included with that. I think somebody told me that. Okay? Per person. Count me in, he says. All right. So that event is on the calendar. You'll see advertising and more things that come with it as we get a little closer and can finalize those things. So at that time, at this point, we open up for our stockholders' participation. Questions in terms of fair activities, in general, comments. I'll open the floor.
Clark, I have a question.
Yep.
I have a set of bylaws that I got 2 years ago from the fair office. They don't match the ones you handed out tonight.
The ones we handed out tonight would be the ones that were revised 2 years ago.
On the bottom of this, it says 2011.
Does it?
Yeah.
2011, though, was 7 years ago, and we revised all the bylaws 2 years ago.
And we had a special stockholders meeting for that?
We had a stockholders meeting right here for that.
What's the difference, Susie?
Well, this one, it says, it took out the, hold the office of the term not to exceed 2 3-year terms, and that's different than in here.
That was never approved.
And?
That was the bylaws that were presented to the group. That was never approved.
That was a draft set.
So that was, no, we're telling you, that was a draft.
I don't know, we were handed.
Okay. At that meeting you're talking about?
No, these I went in and got when I got a stock, when I bought stock.
Okay.
The other one that was taken out was, it says, the board of directors shall have the stockholders' approval for any sale of property and any construction of or addition to any building on the property of the Huron Community Fair. That's not in here at all.
Correct. That was, again, you have a set that was presented by a committee that Orange set up, that presented that at a meeting, and changes were made before they were adopted. I don't know how you got that set, but what you have in front of you was a proposed set. Oren, you remember there was a committee that was appointed that had...
It was done before I got in.
No. When you left, there was a committee appointed.
When I left?
Yes.
Okay.
Bruce Bauer was one.
Bruce Bauer was on that. Al Hansen.
Yeah.
There were about 5 different that were on, and they presented to the group what you have as a proposed, and changes were made the night of the annual meeting to the proposed to what was handed out tonight, which was the approved. Any other questions or comments?
Mark, how did the sale go?
How did the sale go?
Yeah.
The JLA sale?
Yeah.
It was up slightly from last year, which means it was very good. Last year, the year before sale, I should say, the year before sale was, I believe, down just a little bit from the year before. And then last year's sale was back up, not quite to what the record numbers were 3 years ago. So basically, it's holding that same that it has. Bruce indicated that they got from UPI income of 47,000 or something like that.
Sale 30,500 and the bends were 10,000.
Okay. So the sale was 35,000 for the JLA.
Okay, but.
In terms of how much money did the kids get?
No, how much money totally did the sale, when they sold all the animals, what was the total?
For the kids?
40.
Eight something, 840 to 60.
840,000 approximately.
And you're saying of that GLA?
JLA gets like 35,000 for their commission, their operating fees, which has been standard practice for that number with the JLA hasn't changed in terms of what they get in
It's the percentage.
25 years. It's been the same percentage.
3% of the gross is what it is, like the JLA charges.
Somewhere there.
What year did we build the hog barn?
87.
That was the year those percentages were set, and they haven't been changed since. So 1987.
We did raise the stall fees because sawdust and shade was cheaper.
That are provided by the junior livestock.
So the stall fee goes to GLA too?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. That goes to them because they provide all the bedding to the kids and at the end of the week, clean and assist. Yep. Ed?
Actually, bylaws that we handed out tonight, they are dated 11/9/2011, right? I suggest that the board commission, one or two members, take a look at them. I'm sitting here looking at the last page, an article in one spot spelled A-T-I-C-L-E.
Okay.
So I probably should go through there and do an editorial update on.
Spell check?
Yeah, spell check. This one's spell check.
Spell check probably would have caught that because I don't think that's a word yet.
Where is it found?
Article 5.
Article 5.
Article 5.
Article 5?
Well, we'll just have to have a talk with the person who typed that up when I get home.
Talk very nicely to
I was gonna say, she does a lot for you, I don't.
Okay, I'll talk nicely.
Steve?
Is there much discussion going on yet about anything on the new building here or with the fair board or?
Constantly. Has been for 20 years. We have attended, fair board members, different portions of fair board members have probably attended 4 or 5 meetings in the last 14 months concerning what's going on. I believe, Susie, about July, the county commissioners passed a resolution giving the hockey association, I'll say, and kind of extended hockey association, permission to move forward with a project on this site. Since that time, there have been maybe 2 or 3 additional meetings that the commissioners have had where they have invited numerous different groups that use this facility and area, including horse association, 4-H, hockey, handicap riders, fair board, to talk about what that plan proposal might be. I believe about 2 months ago at a meeting, there was a very rough proposal presented to the commissioners in terms of what that building might look like and what a cost of that building might be. And the commissioners talked to all of us involved on that night about how, what, thoughts and whatever. Since then, we as a fair board have asked a couple questions because we had a few questions about how it might affect certain things. Everything kind of continues to either drag feet or get excitement, depending on who you're talking to on what day. About 2 weeks ago, we had a meeting again. At that point, the Hockey Association, through the county commissioners, put a proposal to us of the potential of would we be interested in giving up a parcel of land on the west end of the fairgrounds for this new facility to be built on, which would allow this facility to remain in place and possibly become fair board property again at that point. We had a good conversation that night about what it might look like. Again, it was a very rough conversation at that point because all it was a thought that was thrown out. Since that time, in talking with fair board members and a few other key fair people, I don't think that's in our best interest to give up a piece of property on the far end of the fairgrounds that would take away from expansion on camping that we're already short on, and a building that would not probably be used by the fair. I can't say it wouldn't be used, but we couldn't see in a short-term use of that. We've not had a fair board meeting since that meeting to actually have a full discussion and report, but the general consensus for us is we would probably prefer that if it was going to stay on the fairgrounds, that it stayed here instead of doing that. Just we don't see that in our benefit as a fair to make that happen. There have been numerous other conversations I know that have taken place in and around and back and forth about that. I'm not sure as we sit here today anybody would feel comfortable about any progress in any direction. I know that the Hockey Association is very anxious to make things happen, to have something happen. They have a commitment from the commissioners that they will work with them to make something happen. There's lots of questions about timing and uses and some of those kinds of things that are yet to be, and the Hockey Association is kind of put in a tough situation that every time they think they have a step in a direction, somebody asks a question, and the question seems to make everything come to a stop again. And it really doesn't matter who asked the question, if it's Fair Board or if it's Steve Ayer. If somebody asks a question, it seems to make the whole process come to a stop. Susie, would you kind of summarize?
We were at the commissioners meeting today. They are still behind us. There's no doubt about it, and they are pushing forward. So it's looking very good.
So, Lauren?
But why does that hockey ring have to be put on the fairgrounds? There's land for sale all along 53 there. Nice big buildings. You got Kmart and all them. I think they're all for sale. Why do you have to have it here?
I can answer that, Clark. One, because we've been here 20-some years, and it's the nostalgia of the barn, the kids playing in the barn. Number two, our biggest supporter wanted the building here to help make it look better and to help out the fair as well.
Wouldn't you say there's something wrong with this barn?
This barn?
Yeah.
There's lots wrong with this barn.
No, it's that bad. I know. I was here when that barn was built. That barn is still in good shape. It needs a little touching up, but it's still in good shape.
And Orrin, from a fair board stance, where we're at tonight, and this building belongs to the county, so we continue to have conversations about our concerns of making sure that it's fair usable, because that's all in the agreement that we have with the county, that will continue. But in terms of what the county decides to do, other than our input in terms of making sure that it continues to be usable in the proper way for the fair, that is not our decision to make. That's the county's decision to make, based on the commitment that was made in 1982-83 when this building was built. So
We had to buy this property, put this building here.
I understand, or I know the background and the piece, and have had conversations with commissioners about how that all went down and what has happened. And I would tell you that, and part of the Hockey Association's frustration with the whole process has been the county commissioners tend to listen to us before they listen to anybody else. And Susie will shake her head yes to that, because it doesn't make any difference what proposals, what they do. They come back to us for our approval on just about anything they do that concerns this piece of property. So,
The one thing I do want to say, Clark, is that I want everybody to understand this building will be exactly the way it is and used exactly for what it is. Heck, it's only 6 months of the year. That's, you know, it's not used in the winter and anytime else. Everything else will be exactly the same. The only difference is it will be an upgraded building, it'll be a bigger arena, and better facilities. This facility right now is not handicap accessible, it will be. And that's what I want everybody to know, is that it will go back and be exactly what it is now, just bigger and nicer. Climate controlled. That's what it is.
This one will be torn down, and the new one's put up.
Yeah.
So will the climate control include the area where the animals will be housed during?
Yes, the whole building will be climate controlled.
The kicker you might want to add to that, though, there will be a new horse
there would be a new horse barn built,
building built.
because where the box stalls are on that side currently would not be there anymore. So it won't be exactly the same.
Cattle on your side.
That will still be there.
And there's still the question of parking.
And there's still some question about parking space and some of those things as well. There's many questions to be answered if and as it moves forward. So Steve, the only thing I can tell you is from don't be sorry you asked, because realistically I can tell you that having been involved not just as a fair board member, but involved with the fair as long as I have, almost since the Hockey Association got started, there has been conversation about a new rink. I mean, that's been a conversation that's been there. And I can tell you from a fair board stance, this conversation was going on before I started as a fair board member, and have met with Hockey Association over the last 8 years, and there have been probably 5 different proposals of possibilities over the last 8 years about this, and it has reached the point it's at now, and I can't give you an answer in terms of whether we'll see a new building in the next 2 years. If we see a new building, if it's here, if it's not here, I don't have that answer. All I can tell you is what I presented to you tonight is what the meetings have been in the last 14 months.
You've got to admit we're farther now than we have ever been.
Yeah. Maybe.
We've actually got plans, we've actually got drawings, we've actually got...
Yep. Any other?
I just got one question. Did y'all ever figure out why your bathroom backed up on Thursday at the fair?
We have 2 possibilities. We're not totally sure. We know where it took place. We know we took care of where it took place. And we are also in conversation of the fact that there will probably be, in the spring, a grinder put in just outside of that bathhouse, that whether the problem would repeat itself again or not, we're looking at making sure that it wouldn't repeat itself again.
I mean, I think it was kind of funny. This is the first time I've ever seen Rabbi Esser run.
Well, I would have to say that was probably our one major downfall of the week, that we had about a 3-hour time span there that was not pleasant or comfortable for any of us. But big thanks to James Pulaski and his crew for coming in and solving that problem very quickly. And again, that goes back to the piece that we say time after time after time. This fairgrounds, this operation, this whole piece could not begin to operate if it wasn't for the fact that every time we ask for something, it happens. And truly, those of you who live here and know that, know it's not just the fair, it's this county that does that. So we appreciate all those things.
Yeah, as stockholders, is there a way you can keep us informed of what's going, as things move forward with this, as a hockey arena and stuff, other than us reading a tidbit in the Tribune or something like that? I learned more about tonight, you know, there's different things which 90% of us probably didn't know anything about. Maybe we don't need to, but maybe as a stockholder, we'd like to be informed of what's going on.
I guess I would say this. We certainly don't try and hide anything, but on the other hand, it's been difficult for us. It's difficult for us to share a whole lot because, as Susie would point out to you and agree with, every time it seems like we've taken 3 steps in a direction, a question comes, an answer comes, a piece comes, and we're not sure if we've moved any steps at all in any place. I can tell you that the assurances that we have had, if this happens, the facility will be available to use for the fair. That's the assurance we've had. And we aren't going to miss the fair season. I have no idea how that can happen, because what I've seen and the pieces, I don't know how that can possibly happen, but the assurances we've had is that we would not miss a fair in a building on this site.
Darwin, one of the things that we would like to do to bring the fair out of the old centuries is to be able to send out our notices for this meeting via email. And if we could have the emails of all, I think we sent out 260 some letters this year to people inviting them to this meeting. If we had that on a list and we had all those, it wouldn't be hard for us to give you a newsletter or have it go through the 4-H, how the 4-H can send out that right now. So it's a very good question that we could let people know what was going on.
I would tell you, and Susie would agree, over the last 3 months, there's probably been times that as soon as I thought I had an answer to something and was about to start telling something to somebody, somebody told me something on the other side that changed it as well. So the last year has been a whole lot of this going on, and I bring you up to date as best I can. But we would gladly, and I guess I would share, if we had, I guess a question I have on that is, how many of you receive 4-H newsletter? Okay, not a large enough number. Okay,
We still have a lot in our county that do not have internet access.
I realize that. We're looking for ways that we could do that, because obviously sitting here tonight, we don't have everybody's email to be able to do that. But we'll work on it. Try. Any other questions or?
Yes, one more thing.
Yep.
Back in September, you all invited my father and I to come to a fair board meeting. You told us that we had somebody come and spray the stalls and the bill was $1,500.
No.
Yes, you did. When I left there, I went and got a check for $1,500, and I brought it back. And I gave it, set it right next to you. I was standing right next to you and set this down on the table for $1,500. I find out the next day the bill is actually only $250. Can you explain why
You weren't listening, you were not told
Oh,
the
yes,
bill
I
was.
was listening. I was absolutely
What-
listening because I was
was
livid.
it? The estimate to
We're
do-
not gonna go down whether
The
I was
estimate
upset
to
or
do the
not
project was
upset.
$1,500.
No, the estimate was $1,000 because they were giving you a $500
The
credit.
estimate was $1,500 and they were giving a $500 credit.
Correct. The bill was $250.
The bill for what had previously been done was $250, not included in the estimate.
That's not what you said. You said it, you told us the bill was $1,500.
If you remember right, I told you that night I did not know what the bill was.
And nobody had a bill.
Correct.
So
And-
how did you know what the bill was?
And we asked you not to pay at that time.
Oh, no, you did not?
No.
Oh, you absolutely did not.
Yeah, we did.
No, you didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
Because I sat right there and I said, I will be right back with the check. I come in, gave the check, and you said, thank you.
I said thank you, but I said, I don't know what it is. It's not correct.
You said it was $1,500. Where would I have gotten $1,500?
You were told that the estimate to do the project
No,
was
I was
$1,500.
told the bill was $1,500. And I said I would go get the check, and I brought the check back.
And you have your check back.
Correct. My problem is we were told $1,500, but the bill was only $250. I believe we were set up that night by every one of you, just so you know. And that's the feelings on it.
I don't think that we did not have the bill at the meeting, and we did, to my knowledge, we did not give you a number, and we asked you not to pay it that night.
No, you didn't, Brad.
Let me finish. You stormed out, and you came back with a check.
Nobody stormed out. We walked out. I said I was going to get you your check.
Understand? And you brought your check, and we got it for $1,500, and we never cashed it, and we gave it back.
You tried to, because it went to the Bayport St. Bank.
We all,
It didn't end up going.
it did not go
I
through.
stamped it that night.
Did too.
So I was doing
My
business.
name's on that check.
It
It
was
never went
cashed.
to the Bayport State
We
Bank.
tried to cash, but we stopped payment on them.
No, I
Found out
didn't take
that
it
was
to the
only
bank to
$200.
cash it.
No, I don't think that's true.
That is true.
I'll call a question. I think if they got a matter they ought to take up with the fair board, we don't need to discuss at the end of the meeting anymore. I mean, we're not gonna solve it here at an annual meeting. I suggest that they go to the fair board next meeting and finish their.
They know what they did, so.
As I was the one that asked to have those horse barns sprayed. The reason I did that is because the year before, they weren't done. We found out they weren't done. We went and bought all the stuff that was required to spray the horse barn. You didn't ever get a bill for that at all. When it came up time this year, Susie said, Dad, what about the barns? I said, I'll get them sprayed because evidently they're not gonna do it. So I'm not putting horses in there, whether they're our horses or whether they were the riding horse people. Wasn't gonna do it. Yes, I should have called and said, hey, are you gonna spray or aren't you gonna spray? But I didn't do that. But the bill, like Susie said, I called Doug the night, right after I left here. And Doug said to me, how much was, I said, I need a copy of the invoice because they said they didn't have it. That's what the girl said, didn't have it. So Doug said, I'll make you a copy. How much, I said, Doug, how much was it? He said, it's $250. I said, we just left the fair board. They wanted $1,500. We wrote him a check for $1,500. He said, I'm telling him it's $250. And he sent us a copy. We have a copy of this.
You're correct.
All in writing.
And I'm
Just to
just
make
saying,
for doing all the
when we come back, when Susie come back with the $1,500 check, if you knew it was $250, why did they?
We
why
did not
you
know it
accept
was
the check?
$250 at that point.
You didn't get that invoice?
I did not have it with me that night, and I told you I wasn't sure how much it was.
Let it go.
Any other stockholder comments?
See what they are.
This time we'd like to announce our Friends of the Fair. Don?
Oh, I was bewildered there for a minute. A number of years ago, in 2012, we started by honoring people in our community that have helped out with the fair. Last year we honored the Zwimmer family and Larry Maurer and his wife. This year we have 3 names, I should say 3 families we want to honor. We're going to be honoring Warren and Grace Crone. We're going to be honoring Joanne Cove. And we're going to be honoring Melvin and Janet Bishop at this year's fair. So make sure you get their spellings right, but we don't have anything good to say about them until July.
What was the third one again, sir?
Melvin and Janet Bishop.
Thank you.
We've already had our election and the results are there. Any other business that need to be conducted at this time? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Al, seconded by Bruce. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passed, meeting adjourned. Thank you for coming out. There's